Hi guys, Squirrel here. Welcome to my first look video of Diesel Railcar Simulator. What on earth is Diesel Railcar Simulator, Squirrel, and why those graphics look a bit not exactly next-gen DX12? What's going on there then? What's this? Is it a lot of rubbish or what? No, it's not. It's not a lot of rubbish. If you're a rail enthusiast, then you really should pay attention to this game because it has an awful lot to offer. Although the graphics don't look quite modern standards, I mean, I think it is Unity under the HUD. It does offer quite a lot in terms of the simulation side of it, the more realistic part of the game. Let me just focus a second because I need to make sure we set off on time. So down the bottom here, that's the buzzer telling us to leave. Down the bottom here it says 8:39, station is little green, we are to depart, we are departing on time. And over here on the left, our current target speed is 10. You can see on the line from left to right as well, we've got a 10 there, so we need to keep our 10 mile an hour just as we're departing from the platform. The track speed will then change to 25 just after the signal, which has an open aspect, and then it'll climb up to 40 a little bit further down the line. I just need to focus for a second to make sure we don't completely mess this up, because it really is easy to mess this up in this game. It's a bit unforgiving in that sense. Whilst I'm just focusing here, just pay attention to what's going on with these levers, and also pay attention to the motion that's going on, the kind of swaying and bobbing and bouncing, and the audio as well. Because this game, like I say, does have a number of things up its sleeve that you may not be aware of. Now, what is Diesel Railcar Sim? When did it come out? Where's it come from? Blah, blah, blah. It's just landed on Steam. A couple of days ago, in fact, it's dropped onto Steam. However, it was originally released on itch.io. That's where it was developed first. It's managed to get early access on Steam now. It costs about £10, something like $14, $15. And as I say, it is early access. The developer has posted a load of stuff about what the plans are for this game. And I'm glad to say that the plans are pretty good. One of the things on the hit list is to improve the graphics. He has said that they will improve the graphics bit by bit to modern standards over a number of updates. So if you're looking at this from the perspective of, I'm not playing this, the graphics look like they're out of 1997 or whatever, you know, if you're that kind of person, then you're better off waiting, because the graphics will take some time before they're improved to the kind of standards that you're likely to be happy with. However, if you're more of a rail connoisseur and you're looking for something where there's a simulation underneath the HUD, then this might be of interest to you. I'll take you through the scenario stuff later. Just right now, I just want to explain a few concepts and focus on a few things. We are approaching Tilso. This is an assist, if you like. These down here are assists, and these can be turned off. I am going to lose score because I've got some things turned on here, but we shall see that at the end of the scenario. It'll all be explained. However, the assists are really helpful, firstly because I'm new to this game, and secondly because there's a lot of information here which we can talk about and I can use. We're approaching Tilso. You can see it's gone to a green aspect. Keep your eye on the target speed over here. This target speed is not the track speed. This is a target speed for me, and it will start to climb down in a second because it knows that we need to stop at Tilso. And what I'll then need to do is adjust my accelerator and brake over here. We're currently coasting, and start to apply some brake to bring our speed down. There it goes. So I'm just going to start to apply the brake. You can see where my mouse is, the brake pressure needle, as it applies some brake. You can see my current speed versus the target speed, so I'm going to apply a bit more brake. If I'm not careful, we're going to overshoot because we're already over the mark. In fact, I think we are going to overshoot. We're going to probably end up on that rail there. Yep. We'll be lucky if we stop before that S sign. Very lucky indeed. You can feel the weight of this thing. There we go. We've overshot. However, it's counting it. It says I'm late. It should start to open the doors now. Now the passengers, there are not many passengers in this game. They just kind of stand still on the platform. They don't get on and off the trains, and if we jump inside the actual cars themselves, there are no passengers currently modelled and there's no driver. All of that stuff is planned for the future. It's planned in a future update. They've listed out the things they plan to do. That's one of them. So, like I said, the graphics side of things are still work in progress. However, let me show you something that isn't work in progress. Pay attention to what goes on as the train starts to move off here. From a physics perspective, the suspension of every vehicle has been implemented. So you've got the axle boxes, you've got the bogie frame, you've got the planks and the bolsters. You've also got hydraulic simulation going on. The tracks have connection points. You'll see what happens as the train leaves. Pay attention to this car relative to this car. As it goes over a kind of uneven track, pay attention to what's going on with the suspension. The mass of the vehicle, you can feel the mass of it as you accelerate. You can feel it as you brake. You can see it physically leaning over right now as it makes a turn. You see the track is leaning, so the whole loco leans with it. So it's very, very well modelled under the hood. This is a Class 112. Now, let me talk about what you get inside the game. Currently there are 2 scenarios. That's about 150 miles of track spread over two maps. They're a fictitious map though. They're not a realistic map, they're fictitious maps. We have the Class 112, we have the 117, the 122, the 126 and the 127. All of them are British Rail diesel cars. This whole game is set in 1960s Great Britain, okay? And you get a bunch of British Rail classes. This is the Class 112, what we're currently driving, and it has a mechanical gearbox. So what you'll see is it disengages the engine into idle before it changes gear, and then it puts it back into full power. That is something that you have to do if you're driving in expert mode. I'm currently driving in assisted mode because, quite frankly, I can't do expert and torque at the same time because it really does demand a lot of concentration. Just pay attention to target speed. We're just going to start climbing down because we need to decelerate down to 40 here. So we'll just do that, and that should bring us within speed limit. As we pass the 40 mark, you should see a 40 on the track. Yep, there it is right there, because of the curve, presumably. And then it goes back up to 50, but we need to stop at Barlton Norton. Because I'm on assisted mode, all I need to worry about is accelerating and braking, and it takes care of the nasty details to do with being in the right gear. However, if you want to pay attention to what's going on under the hood, you can pay attention to the engine RPM and this needle here where you need to change down, and that needle there where you need to change up. You will see it do it automatically. Let's just accelerate slightly. So as I move the bar to accelerate, you'll see it apply the power, but if that RPM needle gets too high, you'll see it move to neutral, change up a gear, and then put the power back on. Like I say, if you're playing this in expert mode, you need to handle all that as well. So plenty of difficulty for those that want it. I'm just hoping I've braked it early enough. I think I have. It looks like we've got our speed. As long as our speed's under our target speed, then we should be able to stop reasonably well. Because there's still brake pressure in a line, it's very hard to cruise once you've started braking. So we'll stop there. Okay, put the brakes into park. It says I'm late. I'm always late, apparently. Can't seem to stay on time in this thing. As I say, the maps are fictitious. Currently, there are 2 maps. They are going to release an editor, a map editor, so that you'll be able to create your own scenarios in this and your own maps. They also plan to allow you to import train models, and in the future they'll allow you to create your own trains that are drivable. So start accelerating here. But you see, the passengers are very, very simplistically modelled, and they don't move at all. So don't be expecting any of that. Focus on the rail simulation side of it, because that is what this game does very, very well. The graphics are, like I say, they're not next gen at all. This is the Class 112. I think this has a single 238 brake horsepower engine in it. It's also got a mechanical gearbox. The Class 113, which isn't in the game, has a hydraulic gearbox, so with that one it would have a different control here. Some of the other trains that do come with it have the hydraulic gearbox, and then all you've got to worry about is putting it into a single, like a D, if you like, and then you just worry about the power, and it can change like itself. It's all magical. It's a bit like being in assist mode, really. The game has, I think, really good audio. You can hear all the clicks and clacks, and as it goes through the track, you can hear all of that stuff. The engine sounds fantastic. It does have Doppler, I think, so if we sound the horn as we go past. Hear that? So it is taking into account the Doppler effect as well on all the engine audio and the horn. Just need to focus on the speed because we're have to decelerate down here, 40 then 25. Now one of the things I do like about this game, you're going to see shortly when we finish the scenario, the end screen. The feedback you get on this game is honestly, it puts some other train simulators to shame. It's so good. It shows you where you're going wrong, and there's some other things I can tell you about as well. Let's just apply a little bit of brake and we'll coast it. That should get us down to 40 once the brake pressure comes out. There we go. What else have they got? So, one sec, we're going downhill, I think. No, we're not. We're going uphill now. So this game does demand a bit of focus to drive. It's so easy to overshoot a platform in this. And on the simple mode, there's no way of reversing. You can only reverse if you're in expert mode. Yeah, we are climbing now, so I've just lost a bunch of speed. We'll see this on the breakdown screen at the end. There are regular runs and there are special rescue runs that you can do. There's a detailed timetable. There's actually a whole bunch of AI trains running. It's a bit like Train Sim World in that sense. There are a bunch of trains that are on this track right now, on this map, that are performing, and you can switch to them at any point. You don't have to just drive your own train. If you want to, you can just switch over and be in the cab on one of those things. Unfortunately, you can't take control of them yet. There's no kind of first person getting up and walking around like there is in Train Sim World. You can't jump into another train. However, if you press the 0 key, you can literally jump from one train to another, and you can watch it drive. That's the cool thing. You can watch it. All the needles move, everything, all the handles move. You can watch it drive the scenario to the timetable, which is a great way of learning the routes and learning how to do it properly. Right, let's begin accelerating. I'm not going to get a great score, by the way, because I really am talking and I'm not concentrating that hard. I think this game has fantastic replayability. That's the thing. I think, you know, the way that you drive, the way that you keep time, all of those things get evaluated at the end. It even tracks the energy usage. Like, it tracks when you should be cruising, if you're going down hills and that kind of thing. It tracks if you're braking accurately. And on every time you play it, look at this, here's another train coming. Let's go here. So that's an AI. You could jump on board that in an instant and see where it's going. It'll have a timetable just like this one. What was I saying? Yes, every time you play it, it will have random kind of traffic delays to keep things fresh. Like, it's not completely set in stone every time you drive it. There will be some variance. However, I've noticed that there are no headlights. There's no light implementation currently. Nothing in the cockpit or the cabin appears to be clickable. Like, nothing is clickable. I don't know if that is planned for a future update. So we can't do this. The wipers don't work. The weather doesn't seem to change. I know they've got early and late schedules, but I've not seen anything earlier than about 7 AM and anything later than about 8 or 9 PM. 1 second. I need to focus because we're about to slow down. So again, I assume that's going to be something for the future, to implement weather systems and to implement lighting, to make it more interesting and or difficult. Start applying some brake. I don't trust this thing. We seem to be moving quite quick. It does take a long time to slow down. It really does feel like this thing is so heavy. Yeah, we've got it under control. Now it's just a matter of judging the stop correctly. Try releasing some of that brake pressure. You can always reapply in a second. Yeah, I think I'm going to kill too much speed again. There's definitely a skill in judging when to back off on the brake, because it takes time to bleed the pressure. Oh, crikey. There's a 4-car symbol there. That's a 6. I've overshot. See, it's on 0 now. Yeah, I overshot my mark, so I'm going to lose points for that because I'm basically stopping where an 8-car should stop. I'm still going to get points for stopping. Oh, we're on time. Blimey. I'm almost always late. So I'll lose points for not stopping the right place. But I will get points for stopping on time, so that's cool. Let's put it into park. No, not accelerate, put it into park. You see the brake pressure's coming down a little bit there. It just stops it from being like completely maxed out on pressure, and then when you need to go, you've got to like release the whole thing rather than half of it. So you get away a little bit quicker. That's why you do that. So the doors are going to close shortly. So it's not on that one, is it? Okay, so next stop is the target, I believe. Come on. Nope. There you go. Let's go. So yeah, in terms of cons, you've got your graphics side of it, not exactly next gen. There's not enough kind of first-person stuff to do. You can't get up and move around. There's no lights from what I can see, no weather system, the cockpit's not clickable. In the future, if you look at what they plan to do, the first thing on the list is to make the sim extensible by adding a route and train editor. That's currently their highest priority, and they're putting that above improving the graphics. So as far as they're concerned, this is okay to go, and if you press F1, you can see you've got a rock-solid 60 FPS. So it's not like the original train sim, which is all a little bit laggy. You know, what you get is running pretty smooth. You've got some smokestacks there, it's all very nice. So what is there works, but the simulation underneath is what I like. But wait till when this scenario ends and I'll show you some more stuff, which I think is really cool. I think they plan on improving the exterior textures. They're going to do the interior as well. They're going to make better buildings, better houses, better trees. They've got some new classes coming, but they've not said what they are yet. They also say there's some missing train physics, like the handbrake and stopping of engines is something that they're going to add. And they also plan to add people inside the trains. But I think their approach appears to be make something that is a proper simulation, something that's enjoyable for rail enthusiasts, for people who like to drive a train and feel like they're driving a train. That's the approach they've gone for. So if that's the kind of thing that you like, you'll definitely like this. What we'll do in some of the future videos, I'll go through the different classes in future videos. We won't have time to do it in this first look video, but I'll do it on expert mode, which will be hilarious, and you'll have to deal with things like the AWS and reset it yourself. So that'll be fun. We've got a 40-mile-an-hour speed drop coming up, so let's just get ready for that. Let's try a single line of brake. No, maybe two. Now we can turn this thing off, and we'll get a 10% improvement on our score if we do. Oh, look at that. That's beautifully timed. I actually got that right then. Makes a change. Can I get into Paddington on time? I was going to say Paddington, St. Padding's Cross. The names are hilariously like real ones. So, I mean, the scenery is not bad. It's definitely passable, but until they open up the editor for people to build scenarios, I don't think we're going to see any real stuff. But I reckon this game's got a future, you know. I reckon people are going to build some real scenarios for this, and I think that, you know, we're going to see some more classic diesels added. I mean, obviously they've not got a license for anything, so they've not added any proper liveries or anything yet. They probably don't even have contacts to get licenses for that kind of stuff, but I'm sure that mod authors can and will implement that kind of thing, and then you're going to start to get some real looking stuff. But in terms of what's under the hood, it's pretty good. Just focusing on the speed. Also, we've not touched any of this yet. There's like, on stuff that has dual engines, you have to start at both engines when you're in expert mode. So that stuff is implemented as well. Let's get ready to decelerate. And I don't know, there's just something really cool about classic diesel, isn't there? There's something wonderful about classic. It's all going away, classic diesel. It's doomed, but it's wonderful. I wish they would model windows and doors and wipers and make things squeak. You know, all that kind of stuff that I like. That would be great if they could do that at some point. Okay, let's keep it there. So yeah, you've got your mile-an-hour thing here. Now, I've put it up here. I think there's a 5% score loss for having it up here. If you're aiming for like 100% score, like maximum scores on any of these scenarios, then you're going to have to turn all of this stuff off, including this stuff here. This line stuff. I think it still shows you your timetable, but it won't show you all this kind of line assist stuff. Wasn't paying attention then. I was meant to be coasting and I wasn't. Right, we need to be doing 10 by the time we get to the platform start. That's the speed limit on the platform. The trick here is to apply enough brake pressure so that when you release it, you carry on cruising at 10. It's very difficult to get right. But I'm going to try. So I'm going to bring the speed down, bring the speed down. Keep bringing the speed down. And then release. Now you see I'm already speeding. So I'm speeding slightly coming into the platform. But by the time it's finished releasing the pressure, I should be near my 10 mark. You see, now if you can get that to happen at the start of the platform, you're doing well. Because I still struggle with it at the moment to try and get it right. And we're still speeding all the way along the platform. An extra 2 miles an hour. Now, I think it wants us to stop at the end here. But I think if you get this wrong, you're going to be in for a nice little collision. I'm not sure how it marks. I'm sure it's going to mark you on how far you need to be from here. We're doing 5. See, all of this is going to... Oh no, it's not going to make me late because it's allowing time. Look at that. No, 2. We've got plenty of time to do this. I should have spotted that. Yeah, you'll see the distance in feet from where you should have stopped. You'll see it on the end screen in a minute. You're going to like this, honestly. You're going to like this end screen. Okay. Let's go with... That'll do. Right. There you go. Immediately it just jumps out of here. And it gives you a breakdown. What the heck is all this? Well, let's have a look at it. So, first of all, ignore that bit at the top. Let's focus on my score, all right? So this is the deduction that we're going to get in points. So we lost 30% because of tutorial penalties, which are the penalties that I told you about. It says, try disabling unnecessary tutorials to reach higher scores. Penalties are calculated as a multiplication. For example, minus 20% and minus 20% are minus 36%. So it all racks up. The main ones are the target speed that I was showing you, which is a 10% deduction. That's quite a hefty one. And also the signals on the minimap. So on that little track down the bottom right, and it was showing me the signal aspect, they can set, just together they lose you 20%, which is pretty much the whole lot of my penalty here. Simple controls, if I put expert on, I'll get 5% back. Repeating the gauges on the screen is only 2%. Now, that's an interesting one because of the way the camera works and there's only like a one-click zoom, it's quite hard to see the speed that you're doing. So I probably find myself mostly leaving that one on anyway. Show the route on the mini-map, which was the track thing down the bottom right. That's a 5% deduction. And showing the gradient of whether you're going up or downhill, that's a 2%. So you can turn these things on and off as you see fit. Now, I sped 17 times. Reckless driving twice. That's hilarious. Passenger comfort was exceeded 4 times, so not great. I was 2 minutes late in total across the whole thing. The expected energy usage was 259 megajoules, and I was 113% of my expected energy. So, as it says here, try coasting more to use less energy. No extra points are awarded for running early. So, essentially what it's saying is, you wasted fuel. You should have been coasting more. Now, this is the thing I like at the top here. Look at this. So we've got little green, then we've got Tilso. These are all the stops on the way. And if it's red, it means I was late. And if you look at it, it says I arrived a minute late and I departed a minute late. So not good. It also says I was 46 feet from the stop point, which is where I should have stopped. In this one, I was a minute late, but I departed on time. I was only 10 feet away from the stop point. This one, I arrived and departed on time, and I was only 22 feet. So that was probably my best one. And then right at the end here, I said to you, it probably wants me to stop at that S sign. I was 15 feet away, which is about, what, 3 yards, which is probably about 2.5 meters, something like that. So that's how accurate it's tracking. Now, this weird thing here looks like something out of a race sim. In red, it shows the limit. So this is the line speed limit here. So if I go over that, which is my speed is the grey one, if I go across that boundary, then I'm speeding. If I'm under it, then I'm potentially not operating at my most efficient. That's how you see it. Now, the target is the blue line, which is interesting because look at this. As the line speed changes suddenly from whatever that is. I wish it showed the speed here, actually. Let's say that's 20 and that's 60 or something. So the line speed changes, but the target speed, it knows that you can't just instantly go from 20 to 60. So you get this curve, this acceleration curve here. Likewise, it also calculates that you need to stop. So there's then a deceleration curve. So there's actually an accurate curve that you should, this is like your optimal curve. You see this a lot in racing. And this is my performance. So I was under speed all the way up, but my deceleration was actually pretty accurate. And you can use this as like a great learning tool. What I would like to know is how the blue line manages to accelerate here so quickly. I think that's a bit weird. If you've just stopped here, I'm not sure how you could go from 0 to whatever, 50 in no time at all, but that's something else. But this is really, really cool. It's such I've never seen it before in Train Sim, and it's a really cool thing. Now, if we click continue watching, we jump back into the cab, right? And if I press 0, I can jump around different trains that are currently operating. So this is some AI train that's driving Suburban stopping down 64. It's due to arrive at Little Green in 9:05. I can look out the back. I can look out the front. I can do all the external camera stuff. Oh, this is only a 2-car train. Look at this. Cutesy little 2-car. You know, if I go to 8, I can go into a free camera like that, so I can kind of watch it like this. If I go shift 8, it's like a tracking camera, which is really handy. Look at that. If you right-click the mouse as well, it basically shows you the options that you've got, like the helicopter cam, the passenger cam, you know, or you can just press the hotkey. But the really cool thing is that you can watch the train, you can watch what the AI does in order to accelerate and decelerate in order to be on time. So we can see that it's going to have to slow down shortly in order to get into Little Green. I can't quite see what speed. It's doing bang on 40, look at that. So the line speed must be 40. Yeah, it is, look, it says 40. It's doing 40, so it's just idling right now. And this is where I think it's cool to have the gradient thing on, even though you lose 2% of your score. So at this point, it helps you to understand whether you could, you know, cruise because you're going slightly downhill, or whether you need a bit of power because you're still going slightly uphill in order to maintain your speed. So there's a lot to it, is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot to this. And I think it's a great learning tool, this, because you can sit here and just watch how the AI does it, which is almost like a perfect driving experience, I guess. Now, when you go into expert mode, you do have a lot more control over this. You can apply brake pressure, release it, and you can lap it as well. So if you're going downhill, you can use the lap braking to give yourself a certain percentage of brake pressure in order to keep your speed at a constant. Whereas if you're in assist mode, it's a lot more difficult because the only thing available to you is like 3 stops of braking and 3 stops of acceleration. But you can see it's still in idle, it's still cruising in right now, so it's not using any power at all, just brake pressure, which is saving fuel, so it's really efficient usage of energy. And this is where I think this game is pretty clever, because this one allows you to learn how to become an efficient train driver. Let me put it that way. And that's cool. No doubt he'll stop perfectly on time, but like I say, you can jump around any of the trains on the thing. Some of them are, like this is passing here, so this is more of like an intercity train. There are different scenarios which we'll look at now. Before we do that, let me just quickly look at some settings here. So graphics settings, there's not a lot here. I've got it on high quality with motion blur turned off because motion blur is just awful. Like, why would anybody want motion blur? I don't know. That's your graphics settings. Forget general. Driver settings, we're looking at setting. Key configuration, we've seen this already. You've got your general keys, which are mostly cameras, and camera movement, your simple controls, and then your realistic controls. Let me tell you, if you're used to train sim, these are going to mess with your head because they're not the same. Right, last thing is driving settings. Let me show you the driving settings because this is awesome. When you choose, actually, let's just come out. Let's come back to the main menu because I can show you this better. This is the main menu. There's no music, there's no sound. The settings are up here, and you've got full route 1 and full route 2. If we click on full route 1 and click on map, you can see the overall map. Remember, this is fictitious, so don't be trying to Google this to find out where it is. That's map 1, and if you go for route 2, click on map, that's map 2. So between them, there's like 150 miles, something like that. Now, can you please go away? Okay, right. This is the one that we just did, which is this one here, suburban stopping. Now look at this. Look at this. Good for video. Good for video streaming. It's even a filter. Can you believe this? This has some really cool filters. So this, if you click all, this is going to show you all the different routes scenarios that we could do. All right. But what we can do is we can say, you know what? I really fancy doing a intercity service, and it will list all the intercity services that it has. In the class 126 6 car, it'll say it's going to take about 40 minutes, something like that. And then there's a time here and whether it's going up or down, like literally whether it's climbing up or down. But let's say, oh, you know what? I actually fancy a rural one. Well, in the rurals, we've got what class 122. It's a single car train because obviously it's rural. It doesn't have many cars. And it's a stopper. It's a stopper up and down. So it's going to take you 40 minutes and you're going to be doing a lot of stopping. Then let's say, oh, I want to drive the 126 unit. It'll show you all the scenarios for the 126. It'll show you the car composition. It's actually great. I love this. And this is the one I like the most. Say I just want to do, say I'm making a video and I go, I want to do a video that's like no more than 45 minutes, about half an hour to 45 minutes. I can click that and it'll just find me all the scenarios that are the right length. And I can look through here, say, oh yeah, it's an 8 car there. It's a medium to semi-fast. 41 minutes in a class 127. Sounds perfect. Let's go. I love that. I think that's great. I think between that there and the fact that you've got 2 different routes. Oh, and the other thing, one final thing to show you, let's say you do pick a route, you can click on it. And then you've got this extra breakdown. You've got normal and rescue. Rescue scenario is where there's a broken train and you have to go and rescue it. A normal scenario is where you're following the normal standard timetable. Down here is where, before you go in, you basically click this and you turn on or off those controls. Like if you have any of these ticked, remember, you get penalized on your final score. So if you say, I don't want to do simple controls, I'm going to go expert, you untick that. And if you don't want that target speed, you do that. And between those two, you're going to gain 20% back off your penalty. You then click drive to go and drive it. Or if you're not sure how to drive it, you click watch. It then loads very, very quickly. And you sit back and you watch it drive the scenario, and that is how you learn how to do it. That, in a nutshell, is Diesel Railcar Simulator. That is the kind of the briefest of brief I can give you on the first look video. I shall do more videos on this. We shall take a deeper dive into the other classes. That was the class 112 that we drove today. But there are another, 4 classes of diesel car, and there's plenty of scenarios to cover. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what you think about Diesel Railcar Simulator. Obviously, apart from the graphics, let me know what you think of it from a train driving connoisseur perspective, because I think this thing's got a bit of a future about it. Anyway, take care guys. Happy training.